2.
We're back. Round
We're
two.
back, and I'd just like to say that I go to church most every Sunday.
And what
And I
does
serve in the church, and
But wait.
I also
Wait,
do
Jim.
a lot of things in the church.
what does you and I going to church have to do with us reporting on the fact that Obama, Mr. Narcissistic, Mr. Self-Love, mentioned his self 45 times in a speech that's supposed to
In a
be
memorial
about dead
speech.
police officers, number one. Number two, to have the unmitigated gall to go to that event when he is the one who inspired and caused the death of the officers. How many times has he had Black Lives Matter over to the White House and just recently had them there? He came out and ran his mouth in the Massachusetts issue where the professor was going into his own house and refused to show the cops ID. Remember, he stuck his big nose in, well, if I had a son, he would have looked like Trayvon. Well, thank God he didn't look like Michelle. And then he has to open his big mouth about Ferguson. Hands up, don't shoot, which was shown to be a complete lie. So Obama is the only president in how many 200-something years of
40.
history?
240.
He is the only president to get involved in local racial politics and to push a racial agenda. He is putting gas on this fire. He is the prototypical arsonist who lights the building on fire and then calls everybody. No, sorry, we're not going to entertain ignorance. Sorry. We're not gonna. Sorry. We got caller ID, don't worry. And he entertains this type of ignorant rhetoric. He pushes these events to happen. He wants these events to happen, and then he has the gall to show up at the funerals for these police officers who died. That takes a lot of nerve, but of course, when everybody else has got their heads bowed praying and he's got his nose stuck up in the air as the arrogant dictator he is, well, what do you expect?
Hey, okay. Now, let's say our little prayer. Lord, I know there's a lot of turmoil in this country, and I know we need your intervention into all of our lives, and we need to get back to what the Founding Fathers so well said by Sarah Wood last night in New Orleans. Get back to what the Founding Fathers built the principles of this country on. I pray that each and every one of us takes a good look at ourselves. We have a lot of challenges in front of us. And I pray to you, Father, that we all get on our knees daily and pray to you and ask for your forgiveness. In your name we pray. Amen.
And as an aside, Jim, if you go back to what Sarah was stating in the speech last night, she echoed some of the sentiments of some of our founding fathers, and I can encapsulate them. One of the most important tenets that our founding fathers built this country on was the fact our government, our system of laws, our country was based on the fact that it would be ruled by just and moral Christian men, not a Muslim dope smoker who is for personal aggrandizement, who has spent over $100 million on vacations, whose daughters wear $4,000 dresses, while 4,000 or something black people have been shot in his home city of Chicago, and he never says a word. It's probably the same guy.
Well, try it.
Yes?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I can't see y'all program anymore for the last 2 months or 3 months now.
It's
We
on the
had,
AOC link
biggest
now.
Program in New Iberia. They're doing the dang city council meetings on top of y'all. Can y'all do something about that?
No, we can't.
We have no control over that.
What you can do, go to the link on the AOC. Look straight up. Look.
Oh, okay. Okay, he can't see that.
No, but you can read it.
Okay,
No, I know. Y'all talking about the online link?
yeah,
Yes.
but it's AOCINC.org/watch, WATCH, a dash, and that's stream, STREAM.ASP. And you can watch it on the computer.
Right.
Okay, that's the only way we can get it because they just cut us off totally. We can't get it no more.
Well, they got more important things to show you than us, you know.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
They're talking about the
like
sheriff.
repeat 3 times in a row when they're taking a vacation.
Well, hey, you know, what can you do? But that'll
Yeah,
that'll
well,
bring it
3
up.
weeks we've been watching the repeat. You know?
And by the way, everybody that I've talked to has said that this link is a much improved version over the Ustream that they used to have. It's more
Yeah.
consistent and seems to be less subject to censorship.
And commercials.
Right.
Oh yeah, okay.
They
I
used
appreciate
to,
Brad. Hey, Jim, can you put that on my if I send on my link to my Facebook?
What's the name?
I just sent a message to you. Could you put that link so I can copy it and use it?
Okay, to me, I didn't get no message.
Should be. If not, I'll send it back again. Maybe
Okay,
you can you can paste me a link.
okay. I didn't get a message from you, so,
Okay, I'll try again. Otherwise, yeah, I'll send one of the 2 Facebooks so you can maybe you can post it so I can copy it.
okay.
I'm just aggravated to the max about this.
well, you know, the whole situation that we're dealing right now with Obama at that funeral, with the dead police officers, with racial violence exploding all over the country, is aggravating just everywhere. I mean, and it's not by accident. It's being caused for a purpose. For example, the Alton Sterling event is all based off of a lie too. He is a convicted child molester pedophile who was in a previous fight with police and had a gun, and this time they went to arrest him. They got him down. He tried to put the gun out of his pocket and use it on the police. Well, what do they expect people to do?
Well, sure.
It's called self-defense.
They're bringing Mark Furman and all this stuff. They treating him like dirt.
Yeah. So, I mean, but this is all just an excuse for Obama's racial agenda under George Soros, paid for by Soros, to stir up the racial problem so that Obama can drop the hammer on us, you know? This is all,
Oh, sure.
We've talked about this stuff, we've talked about this stuff for years. And unfortunately, people want to act like this is some big surprise or something new, and you know it's not.
Well, sure. And I predicted a civil war going to be.
Oh, yeah.
5 years ago.
We've been talking about a racial type civil war, me and Tom, for the last 20 years. I mean, the seeds of this thing have always been set, and now people are starting to see these are the opening shots of that war, and people are hoping for it to be ended. And I'm sitting there telling them, hoping it ends. This is just the start. I mean, we've got a Republican National Convention coming up in a week or so, and we've got 15,000 Soros-paid professional agitators that are going to be there to stir trouble. Who knows where that's going to go?
That's right. And a wall in Mexico is not going to solve this problem.
Yeah, they may surround the place and try to burn it down for all we know. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't even know if we're going to make it to the election in November. I mean, the way things have been going.
Well, sure. And the second-class citizens are going to end up being the black people, and the third-class citizens could be the Mexicans.
Correct. So that's why I've always told people, get to the gun store, get your food, get all your stuff lined up, what you think you're going to need, because we got the big storm on the horizon. It's going to be ugly.
Oh, that's it. Okay, buddy. I appreciate it, and I'll try to get that link for.
Okay.
All right, bud.
All
Later.
right.
And by the way, our online in the field reporter says that the link up there is very, very clear. Very clear. Yep. Here we go. Go ahead, caller.
I just wanted to report in.
There you go.
The AOC streaming website is still working flawlessly. No commercials. I was not cut off once. So, it's doing good. And also, that caller that you hung up on, as soon as he called in, I recognized his voice. That caller would call in for years on the Bernie show,
Right.
on KPEL.
Yeah, he's the one that's always calling in the morning too.
Always calling in, and no matter what type of proof or evidence you can state to this guy, he's a hardcore. He's either I hate to call anybody idiot, but either he's just a total goofball,
We don't mind.
or he's paid to.
Oh, yeah.
I was always taught years ago when I first heard y'all talking bad about Bush. I was looking at you guys like, why y'all some Bush haters? And but I was always taught to verify the facts, and then I'd go back and I'd check on it, and I'd realize that you guys are, speaking the truth. And
Hey,
but
we
this
don't-
guy, that caller there was just.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I remember when I used to be driving into work and he would call in the morning on Bernie's show and on some of the other morning shows on KPEL, and they'd always hang up on him because he was always, all he wants to do is throw out his platform, and that's why I'm not going to allow him on the air, is because I'm not going to give him a platform and to this audience and to insult this audience's intelligence with his drivel when we know the truth about what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Some people don't realize is they used to think that you and Tom and the bunch were anti-Democrat, but they don't realize you're just anti-tyranny, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or whatever. If they're
Exactly.
against our freedoms, they're
Exactly.
against us.
And what's funny you mentioned that, because right now the greatest threat to Donald Trump is conservative establishment Republicans. If something bad happens to Trump, I would be blaming Mitch McConnell and that crew, and all of those type of people.
I've always tried to explain that to people. So I'm not against Obama because he's black. He's not black. He's half a something, a African. But
That's true.
I'm not against Obama because he's African. I'm against him because he's against our freedoms, our rights.
Well, he's a Muslim communist.
Some people just need to get over that black-white issue, and
Well, but here goes the problem. The communists, if you look back in the stuff that Jim taught about Karl Marx, it was the Communist Manifesto's goal to use the civil rights issue with the black people to stir this type of problem, to cause civil unrest in America, break our country down so that the communist agenda could rise. And they are following it to a T, and the media plays into it, and all of this is planned from many years ago, and it's coming to fruition now. And they just don't understand. And you got these idiot people, liberals, who think that this is something good. Well, okay. Good luck.
oh yeah, we're in trouble.
Yes. It's coming.
Me being a military veteran, I used to think all the Republicans were good guys, and especially the Republican military guys like John McCain. And yeah, it turns out that John McCain's a hardcore communist.
Yep.
I believe he was probably brainwashed, or maybe he was already a comrade before he ejected. I believe he probably ejected on purpose so that way he wouldn't have to bomb his fellow comrades anymore. And
Could be.
once they took him into captivity, he's like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here with my fellow comrades until the war is over. And
Yeah, but he tried to blow up a carrier, so.
Yeah, he did a pretty
he
good
almost
job on
sunk
it.
his own ship.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job.
I think he bailed out over Hanoi on purpose, and
Wanted to be with his people.
and then
He just wanted to
offered
see- what's
send
her
him home,
name?
and he says, "No, I want
Hanoi
to stay
Jane.
till the war's over."
No, not Hanoi Jane. Ted's wife. Jane Fonda.
That's Hanoi Jane.
Oh, Hannah Jane. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Well, all right, Cole. We're going to move on to some other stuff. We're going to catch you later.
Okay. See
Take it
you
easy.
later.
I got something to read to y'all that came out of the Crowley newspaper that was written by Milo Nickel. And my mother gave this to me, and it was it's a pretty telling thing. When people want to talk about the United States and how bad we are.
Oh, yeah.
John F. Kennedy's Secretary of
That
State
is
at the time, Dean Rusk, was in France in the early 60s when General de Gaulle decided to pull out of NATO. And de Gaulle said he wanted all U.S. military personnel out of France as soon as possible. Secretary of State Rusk said, does that include those who are buried here? Yes. And you could hear a pin drop. Then, when in England, Colin Powell was asked by the Archbishop of Canterbury if our plans for Iraq were just an example of empire building by George Bush. Colin Powell responded, over the years, the United States has sent many of its fine young men and women into great peril to fight for freedom beyond our borders. The only amount of land we have ever asked for in return is enough to bury those who did not return. At a conference in France, those wonderful French communists were a number of international engineers were taking part, including French and Americans. Well, during the break, these snotty French engineers came back into the room saying, have you heard the latest dumb stunt that Bush did? He sent an aircraft carrier to Indonesia to help the tsunami victims. What does he intend to do, to bomb them? Well, one of our Boeing engineers stood up and replied quietly, our carriers have 3 hospitals on board each carrier that can treat several hundred people. They are nuclear powered and can supply emergency electrical power to the shore. They have cafeterias to feed 3,000 people 3 meals a day. They have several thousand gallons of fresh water produced every day. They have a half a dozen helicopters for use in transporting victims injured to and from their flight deck. We have 11 of those ships. How many does France have? And then a U.S. Navy admiral was attending a conference that included admirals from the U.S., England, Canada, Australia, and France. At the cocktail reception, he was standing in a large group of officers, and everybody was chatting away in English as they sipped away on their drinks. But a French admiral, gotta love the French communists, suddenly complained, whereas Europeans learn many languages, Americans learn only English. He then asked, why is that we always have to speak English in these conferences rather than speaking French? And the admiral came back and said, well, maybe it's because the Brits, the Canadians, the Aussies, and the Americans arranged it so you wouldn't have to speak German. And then here's the last one. Here's the very best one. Robert Whiting, age 83, arrived in Paris by plane. He is a veteran at 83. Give you a hint. At French customs, he took a few minutes to locate his passport for his carry-on. And the customs officer asked, Monsieur, have you been to France before? And Mr. Whiting stated that he has. Then you know you have to have enough knowledge to know you have to have your passport ready. And the American said, the last time I was here, I didn't have to show it. Impossible! Americans always have to show their passports on arrival in France. Well, the American gave the Frenchman a long, hard look, and he said, well, son, when I came ashore at Omaha Beach on D-Day in 1944 to liberate this country, I couldn't find a single Frenchman to show a passport to.
Bingo.
Well, folks, this Dallas shooting was a tragedy in the worst way, but there's been other information that's been coming out of it that is particularly disturbing. And Tom talked about this years ago, so this is not new. The Black Panthers have stated publicly on Breitbart that they wish to take over 5 southern states, literally. Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, and Georgia. Now, this is not new. Calypso Louis Farrakhan said this back in the day. And all I have to say is, well, good luck with that. Good luck.
They want to form a country within a country.
Correct. I say good luck with that. 14% of the population does not a revolution make. And if you will take that and evidence that with the gun sales that have gone on over the past 8 years, good luck with that.
I really think the people in California are really listening to the new gun laws.
Yes, because the new gun laws do not take effect until January of 17. And in the meantime, they are buying up every assault rifle and every high-capacity magazine that they
How
can
many was
find.
that? 10,500?
Oh, yeah, in one little area. And I don't think they really plan to comply. So I think Moonbeam over there, Jerry Brown, has some issues. By the way, our in the field reporter, Brock Swear, has said that the FAA has ordered no-fly zones over the RNC and the DNC. And he says that he's trying to censor the Hillary for Prison aircraft banners. So that they're putting that up, so they can't do flyovers with Hillary for Prison streaming behind.
Oh, my
Okay,
God.
yeah,
It's TFRs.
yeah. It is amazing. And here we go with some other things. We have 5 people who attempted to shoot some police officers in D.C. No injuries have been reported, but it's just getting better and better and better. And in the wake of all the other things that are going on, it's just getting out of hand. Now, we move on to the Philandro Castile shooting in Minneapolis,
Oh, God.
Minnesota.
Does anybody ever tell the truth in the media
Well,
anymore?
I don't think so, because the problem we have with the Castile shooting is some of the issues we have with the other shooting. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. First off, the original premise for the traffic stop was supposed to be a broken tail light. That turned out to be a lie, because he and his woman matched the description of a couple that were just involved in an armed robbery. The gun matched, everything matched up pretty good. Now, the second lie that was told was that he had a concealed carry permit. Well, the local sheriff ran those and couldn't find one. Oh, Lord. Yeah, true. And the film appears to be doctored because the woman is sitting there and allegedly her man has just been shot to death by the police, and she's as cool as a cucumber just sitting there filming this. I mean, you've just had a gun shoved in the window of your car and multiple shots fired just from the muzzle blast and the noise. She should have been at least reacting, and she wasn't. Then the police side of it, information is coming out that the man was sitting in the vehicle, had a gun on his lap, on his leg, and the police told him, do not move. And he reached and they shot. Folks, it's very simple. In Alton Sterling's case, in Castile's case, in a lot of these other cases, Michael Brown's case, when the police give you instructions, follow instructions. Alton Sterling fought with the police before, had a gun on him before. He has an arrest record that's this long. If he was such a choir boy, then why is he illegally carrying a handgun out in the street, waving it around again? When the police get there, he wants to fight. Why is it that every one of these scumbag Democrat felons wants to fight with the police? They purposely pick a fight with the police, and then when they lose, everybody wants to cry and say what a choir boy they were, and how he sat on the front pew of the church and waved his hand in the air and sang like an angel on Sunday. And it turns out he was a scumbag of the first order, a child molester, a convicted child molester. Does none of this have an impact? But again, it's not part of the Mimi. This is an effort by communist forces to take over this country, and race is simply the tool. And these people are allowing this to happen, and they're allowing themselves to be used. And it's not going to get better because it's not planned to get better.
Hard to not have a concealed carry.
He did not have concealed carry, according to the local county sheriff. Now, here is something interesting. How a Justice Department unit from the government of the United States functions as an agitator following the death of Michael Brown. The racial grievance industry has had significant participation from taxpayer-funded entities. Sorry, Charlie. The politicized Obama-era federal bureaucracy is nowhere more blatant than in a little-known unit of the Justice Department. We're going to start calling that the Injustice Department. The Community Relations Service, originally part of the Commerce Department. It is the only federal component dedicated to assist state and local governments, private and public organizations, and community groups with preventing and resolving racial and ethnic tensions, conflicts, and civil disorders with the intent of restoring racial stability. Now, let's see what it really did. Okay. In practice, it is part of the grievance industry. Judicial Watch was paying attention and watched how it agitated in the wake of the Michael Brown event in Ferguson. The DOJ produced documents that taxpayers were billed $15,000 for travel to send 8 of these yo-yos to Ferguson between August the 10th and September the 3rd. And new documents show those idiots had at least 2 conciliation specialists, Derek Dean and Rita Valenciano, on the ground in Ferguson the day after the shooting. In fact, in 2007, it was Ms. Valenciano, who was then the advocate for illegal alien rights, helped lead an effort to remove Francis Simler from the Kansas City Parks Board because of Simler's views against illegal immigration. On August the 29th, Dean and Valenciano moderated a public meeting with the NAACP in St. Louis Public Radio that also served as a platform to discuss the importance of voting and affect change. Well, the CRS unit went to Ferguson within 24 hours of the incident at the request of the NAACP, according to the travel voucher. Now, on August the 10th, 2014, in response to community tension based on the shooting of Michael Brown, they responded to the request of the NAACP. A community vigil was held, attended by 1,000 people. They met with the NAACP and identified African American community leaders to ease concerns and ease tensions. So they were there, and during one of the Ferguson demonstrations, they put an expense claim in for the rain ponchos for the demonstration site, which is interesting. Several state vouchers came in immediately after the shooting. They spoke with the U.S. attorney who would be responsible for the federal civil rights prosecution. And according to the DOJ website, the U.S. attorney's office was responsible for the prosecution of federal crimes. Now, these agents met with Michael Brown's family the day after the shooting, and federal agents were in town training demonstrators on how to best participate in protests. This is straight out of Obama's playbook, that people from the Community Relations Service of the Department of Justice were training paid professional protesters in Ferguson how to best participate.
Wonder if I can apply for one of those jobs.
And then, of course, Holder had little inclination to be even-handed in his application of, quote, the law. Folks, we just can't make this stuff up. This is
no
just unbelievable.
I want to read
Fire away.
the 5 truths you cannot disagree with. Number 1, you cannot legislate the poor into prosperity, by legislating the wealthy out of prosperity.
And this is a plank of the Democrat Party. They are always talking about, we got to go after those wealthy people. We got to go after the rich people. Well, okay, you got the Kennedys, you got Nancy Pelosi, you got Dianne Feinstein's husband, who's got the contract to demobilize all of the public post offices that have been declared.
Worth a little bit over $1 billion.
Yeah, he'll make $1 billion profit, and he was the only real estate agent in the country to get that contract.
There was a fuss about that not being put out for bids, but
Yeah, fat lot of good that'll
you
do.
know where that went. Number 2, what one person receives without working for, another person must work for without receiving.
Oh, you mean that 50 years of food stamps, welfare, and SSI that a certain group of people have gotten over the years for working for nothing, while we've been footing that bill all that time.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. I
The
got you.
government, number 3, the government cannot give to anybody anything that the government does not first take from somebody else.
And folks, the explanation of government in the simplest term, the government is force. The government is all about force. The steel fist of the government. That is what it's about.
Bam. Number 4, you cannot multiply wealth by dividing it.
Jim, those people who do Common Core math, they couldn't divide it if they wanted to.
Okay, and then
They can multiply, but they can't divide.
number 5, when half of the people get the idea that they do not have to work because the other half is going to take care of them, and when the other half gets the idea that it does no good to work because somebody else is going to get what they work for, that is the beginning of the end of any nation. And I'm going to tell you what, you really need to look at that one. People ask me, Jim, how comes 47% of the people like Obama?
They're all on welfare.
Well, number 5.
They're all on welfare and food stamps.
Number 5.
They're getting the
And
free
what
stuff.
we've
the Obama
created
phone.
is, and I heard the discussion about millennials and how they lazy and da-da-da-da. Well, this is it right here. This is part of what I teach. This is part of Marxism. This is part of Solinsky's rules for radicals. And I think we need to get the population out soon and educate them. Here's the deal, and I made the comment last night, and a guy that has a radio show and a blog and all that was sitting in the front row. And I made the statement. I told him that I have a PowerPoint, and I do, for each of those, for rules of radicals and for the 10 planks of Marxism. And I said, if you don't understand, if you do not understand those 2 things, plus there's 2 other things, then there's no way you can have any clue of what's going on today.
And you see, Jim, that's why the public doesn't understand. They think this is all just random racial violence. It's not. It is being orchestrated at very high levels with big money. When you can pay to bus in 15,000 paid professional protesters to the Republican National Convention, does that sound like an accident? All of this violence that's gone on at Trump events, this is not random. These people are professionals. They are bussed in. People often tell me, well, man, I wonder how these people do it. The rest of us got to work. These people are working. Soros pays between $3,000 and $5,000 a month for these professionals to go all over the country and stir up trouble. And that is how the leader of one of the groups the other night got out of jail so fast. You got a billionaire who's going to foot your bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
You know, and then you have, I mean, everybody's on Bush. They get after Bush his 8 years. Most of his vacations were where?
To his own house
To his
in
ranch.
Crawford, Texas.
Okay, Well, it seems, I don't know who's doing this, Michelle Obama facing multi-million-dollar lawsuit after being caught doing this. Right Side News reports that Judicial Watch has started a lawsuit against the First Lady, Michelle Obama, asking for Air Force One records that provide detailed information about the cost of her expensive and extravagant vacation to Spain.
And we're over $100 million, probably 120 million now, on
Yeah.
the 7.5 years of
The
vacations.
Obama administration has denied the release of records.
Well, of
Go
course.
figure, to the conservative group for some time now, although the group has previously sued to obtain records from Michelle's
They'll say it's-
2011 trip to Africa.
They'll say it's national security is what they'll cover it by.
Judicial Watch's goal, this is a good group, Judicial
Oh, yeah.
Watch,
Oh, yeah.
is true proof that Michelle's trip to Spain was purely personal.
Oh, and what about the entourage she brings with her? And, Jim, you still haven't hit the best part. Whenever Michelle has to go overseas like that, the Sixth Fleet, the whole Sixth Fleet, has to deploy, and aircraft carriers have to follow her, and jets have to be overhead to give Michelle security, as if anybody would want to kidnap her. She's kind of expensive. They'd probably pay us to take her back.
It says to prove her trip to Spain was purely personal, meaning that she inappropriately used American tax dollars to pay for her own vacation.
No.
Details of the trip have been entirely vague, raising questions about what was really accomplished during this time.
Oh, her daughter showing off a $4,000 outfit.
On the last trip,
Yes.
what was it, $682,000 for one night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Living the life of royalty.
The only information that we do have is that Michelle toured the country with her daughters in 2010, visiting coastal towns and dining with the King and the Queen. The White House asserts that Obama and his family paid their own way.
Really?
Oh, I'm sorry. For the lavish
And
vacation.
how many $100,000 an hour does it cost to fly Air Force One? And they paid that. Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
they have not shown, here's the catch, they have not shown the documentation to prove it.
Well, they're not going to either.
Furthermore, that vacation would have cost them an arm and a leg. If Michelle Obama possesses that amount of money, we'd surely like to know where she got it from. Here's the deal. When they went into the White House, they were, I think, 1.2 million. Okay? 4 years later, their value is worth over $15 million that we know of. How do you increase your value while you're in the White House? I know the answer, but
Yeah, when you have certain laws that go certain ways and you sign them into laws and lobbyists pay to get certain things done, of course. The same way that McConnell got his how many $1 million for TPP, and Boehner got how many $1,000 for his TPP vote, and so did
yeah,
Ryan.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's the other thing. You know, I love this. This was awesome. Goes to show that my priest is listening to me. Anyways, we went to Arizona on vacation to visit my sister and brother-in-law. And I come back and I'm in church, and they had this little meeting on the tarmac in Phoenix.
That's how much. It's $206,000 per hour to fly
Per
Air Force
hour,
One.
yeah.
Per hour.
Anyways, they had this little meeting with Clinton and Lynch.
Purely accidental.
Purely
they talked about
accidental.
grandkids. Oh, and by the way, have you mentioned the part that Bill Clinton does not have a grandchild because Chelsea is not his daughter? She's Webb Hubbell's daughter. So Webb Hubbell has a grandchild, but Bill doesn't.
But here's what my priest said to me. He says, "Were you in on that meeting on the tarmac?" Oh, I mean, there's a lot of talk. That is totally
Corrupt.
totally corrupt. And there is no doubt, Limbaugh hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Limbaugh nailed it. There is no doubt that, I don't know about threats, but this is how you're going to handle the situation.
Well, what do you think, Jim? Whenever
Who
the
was that guy
Clintons,
that
when the
got
Clintons,
wiped out, and the girl?
when the Clintons have 150 bodies deep, and that little Democrat fraud whistleblower has just been shot in the head and killed, do they need to say
4:30 in the
anything?
morning.
Do they need to say anything else? Is anything else need to be said if Bill Clinton says, "Oh, no, this is the way you're going to vote now, and if you don't, you know things can happen."
And they have the warning here from the DHS Blue Lightning Operations Center in Gulf.
Blue lightning.
The
Ooh.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana Police Administration asking to reach out to all interdictions officers on U.S. highways, especially in the southern area. As many of you are aware, we have been having some protests in Baton Rouge, no kidding. Officers involved shooting. Despite what you may be hearing, these protests have really just been large block parties.
Well, if they didn't have any large-scale problems, then how come I'm looking at 100 and probably 200 arrests have been made?
140 total.
Oh, no. There was 160 as of yesterday, and now they're probably over 200.
I lost count. However, there is a real fear and very likely possibility that this will change for the worse this weekend. This
It
was
did.
this previous weekend. Today, we have been receiving credible info there are large masses of extremists heading here. I will tell you, on Friday,
You passed them.
I was passing this caravan of cars full of and Texas license plates.
Professional paid Democrats.
8 carloads, vans, cars, full of. Now, I was a good boy and just I want to handle 8 carloads. So our department is asking that interdiction officers attempt to identify any large convoys, buses, etc. that are heading in our direction. They are strongly recommending that you do not attempt to stop or contact these groups. What? The credible information is that these are legit extremists that are heavily armed. The most credible sources are advising that they will be traveling from Missouri and the Houston area. That could have been why all those cars were. Oh, really? I forgot to call in.
There you go.
If you are able to identify or get any information on any groups heading our way, please email the information. Should I do that while I'm traveling on I-10 on the Atchafalaya Bridge?
Then you'll probably get to contribute to the John Bell Edwards Maintenance Fund.
The other thing is that here in Lafayette, they whether people know it or not, at Girard Park,
Yeah, they were supposed to have an event.
did that ever happen?
I did not get confirmation that any of that actually occurred. I was notified that there was supposed to be that event and a couple of others. I did not get confirmation of anything further that came down.
You know, here's a 14-year-old grabbed the mic at a BLM rally and dropped a truth bomb. A 14-year-old girl raised some salient points at Black Lives Matter rally Friday that might have left many of the demonstrators offended. The problem was that she happened to be right. The unidentified girl grabbed a microphone at the event in New York after a white man seemed to support justice that left 5 police officers dead. Then this black girl took the microphone, and what she said contained more truth than what we've ever heard from the Black Lives Movement, and it's worth hearing. She said she could not understand how one person could be filled with so much hatred. I personally don't understand how someone can be filled with so much hatred toward a human being who's living and breathing. She said they are living and breathing, and they have a family, they're married, they have children, right? So you can't just go out and kill someone. The girl went on to say that black people simply could not say that violence is the answer. There is no reason on God's green earth to kill another human being, she concluded. This is a black girl. That's a gutsy 14-year-old black girl at a Black Lives Matters thing, because they don't give a I cut it. They don't give a crap about who they do or what they do and who they kill. But I think, you know, when you read stuff like that, 14-year-old getting up, having the courage to stand up in the middle of all of that.
Well, at least somebody's paying attention and listening. I was eating today, and before I came over here to the studio,
Oh yeah, you're.
and the young man that I was speaking with, we were discussing these events, and he was rather melancholy and didn't have a solution as to, what can I do? And I went, whoa. I said, time. I said, son, in 1775, on April the 19th, a fellow named Captain John Parker got out of bed, dying from tuberculosis. He would die within the month, with 100-something degree fever in the cold and the rain, to call the Minutemen to arms and to go meet the British on Lexington Green. So I said, son, this is why they currently do not teach history prior to the 1880s, because you would know that a few brave Americans on that fateful day got their rifles and went and met the most powerful military force in the world head on and stood up and basically gave them the up yours. And he looked like he was still confused. And I said, son, there's nothing stopping you from buying a rifle and learning how to use it. What do you think they did? I said, son, do you understand that the people who signed the Declaration of Independence signed their death warrants? After that, they were wanted men. Their families were hunted. Their homes were burned. They were executed horribly if they were caught. And yet they signed. So don't tell me, oh, I don't know what I can do about that. I mean, these people pledged everything they had to give us an inheritance, which is what Sarah Wood talked about last night.
Great.
But folks, the central theme of all of this, coming down from the 4th of July, all of this means nothing unless a man with a rifle is willing to stand.
Exactly.
And that's the point.
That's a fact, Joe.
This is the point. This is the point. When you see Army Rangers, they have a tab that they put on their shoulder after they complete Ranger School that says the Rangers lead the way. And that's a good way to think about this, because the Rangers who went up Point du Hoc led the way. And that is the way we need to think. We do not need to think in terms of defeatist attitudes. We need to be going to the gun show on August the 6th and the 7th. We need to lay in our battle rifles, our pistols, our ammo, our web gear. We need to think about what our forefathers did and why they did it. Because everything they did back then, 241 years ago, is coming right now. We have General Gage and General Howe and his redcoats breathing down our necks right now, wanting to take your rifles and your ammo away from you in the guise of public safety. It's the same darn thing as we had 241 years ago, and
Exactly.
yet we are in the same fight. The only difference is, folks, is we had people back then who had a lot more testosterone and a lot stiffer spine and did not put up with it. So, folks, I continually tell people, what are you going to do when it is your time in the sun for you to defend yourself and your family? Because that's what it comes down to. All of the other stuff is just rhetoric. All of the sis boom ba patriotic Declaration of Independence and all this other patriotic stuff means nothing unless a man with a battle rifle is willing to stand up and say, you ain't crossing that line. If you do, you're going to die. And then does something about it. And that's where we are at right now. Folks, we are on the edge of some very, very big events that our forefathers in the 50s knew about and tried to fight, and it's called communism. And unfortunately, Joe McCarthy back then not only was right, but he didn't know how right he was. And we are going to suffer from the mistakes of the people back then for not defeating communism back then. Nikita Khrushchev said he would defeat us from within. Folks, all of this Black Lives Matter stuff that we're seeing is communist inspired. So folks, when you think about the 4th of July and what our forefathers gave, you need to think about what you're going to have to give, because your children, your grandchildren will not wake up to the country that we even have today.
I'm going to read, and I read this in New Orleans last night. This is something I wrote on the 4th of July. I said, "Happy 4th of July from your Acadiana Patriots." The question being put forward here is, how many of you believe this will be the case a year from now? And the reason I ask this is, how many of you are totally aware?
Let's see.
No, that's a kid.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I got to see your pretty faces for 30 minutes now.
Excellent. I feel
Awesome.
privileged you were able to see me.
All right, buddy.
Thank you. Listen, I wanted to tell y'all, we've been getting drones over to Iberia. My daughter photographed 2 or 3 of them coming over at night down here.
Wow.
What do they look
I
like?
know. They look the same thing you see on everywhere else, but they fly low. They were flying over around Amador.
Are these like military-looking drones or what?
Heavy duty drone?
Are these military-looking drones or are they looking
The
civilian?
ones with the V wings upside down. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a military predator drone. Yeah, that's the big boys. Yeah.
yeah,
FBI.
yeah. The one with the spoilers underneath.
Yeah, that's the ones that carry weapons.
Yeah. What the hell was that doing over there?
Well, Obama may want to get rid of some of us conservatives.
Well,
You never know.
Yeah, maybe once they get the sheriff in trouble.
Yeah, well,
He's already in no trouble.
it's getting deep. I
all
agree.
right.
Oh, okay, appreciate it, guys.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Bye. How many of you are totally aware?
Goat man. Go ahead, Goat man.
Hey,
What's going on?
all of this stuff there, we need to support our police and our people in blue and our firefighters and all of these good people. I don't know what's going on, you know, it's kind of like, what did Lafayette say?
Okay.
Yeah, they need this little bit of violence going on right now. They got to keep that going on so that they can further their agenda and try to take away our weapons.
That is true.
Well, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom
Yeah,
line.
But a gun ain't never killed anybody.
no, you got to have an operator.
Yep.
A
Yep.
gun has never killed anybody. They proved that.
Yeah, it can't do it by itself.
That's
They
true.
left that shotgun on the front porch and it didn't shoot anybody all day.
They shoot anybody?
Didn't jump up, chase nobody, nothing.
Yeah, well,
See you tomorrow night, huh?
oh yeah, see y'all tomorrow night. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise.
All
I don't
right,
believe it's
buddy.
gonna rain that much.
We'll catch you later.
All right.
Later.
What I got? 2.5. Okay, we're doing this. Totally aware if the election goes the wrong way in November, this country will never be the same again. Believe that everything that is happening has been well developed over the past 50 years to change the world to a one world order, or I'm not trying to be pessimistic, because those of you who know me know I believe we can overcome and win this battle. But do you believe? We have to pray and continually until God comes back into our country and chases the evil out. Please, over the next 4 months, come to meetings, talk to everyone, and pray for our country that freedom still rings next 4th of July. Celebrate freedom today, and again, a happy 4th of July. Tomorrow night, we got the Patriots meeting at the Robichaux Center. Got the Terry Laban from the Patriot Guard, We got Julie Emerson coming, and Brett here, time allowing, will probably give us a little lesson on the, how to be, healthy. But, people, Brett said it earlier, and I'll say it right with him again. It's no time to fool around. And we need to pray. We need God back in the lives of our children and our country. Sarah Wood, we got to get a copy of that. Somehow, I will get a copy of that. I'm gonna send a email. You would, but the thing is you and I can read that, but without Sarah Wood, it's like the girl got it.
Mm-hmm.
She did an awesome job.
Folks, gun show, August 6th and 7th. Get what you think you need. It's now or never. Don't wait until the heathens are beating down your door to wish you had something to respond with. It'll be too late. Get your Bibles, beans, and bullets in order. Get your mind in order. Be ready. They are here. They're not just coming. They're here.